Hi, Julian.
Hello.
So, I'm Susan Langer, and this is my husband, Julian. And we've been living on this hill for 15 years, yeah?
Yeah.
And we started by renting this tiny little cottage just along the way. And we spent 3 years. We used to come up from LA, where we ran a very busy holistic medical practice. And we used to come up literally just to escape and nourish and regenerate so that we could go down and work with a lot of very sick people, a lot of people with chronic illness, and a lot of people who were environmentally ill. And for us, when we kind of grew out of the cottage and realized that we felt so good here on this ridge and on this land that we wanted to live here more full-time. And when we came, you know, it had had a lot of pesticides, a lot of DDT. We've talked to neighbors where they were spraying Raid, and you know, DDT was the norm 30 years ago. And it was very bleak. There were no insects. It was very strange because there was no bird sound even. And the lemon tree, our wonderful old lemon tree, all the lemons were growing all twisted and distorted and crooked. And there was an apricot tree. We figured it was an apricot tree, but it was always barren. And there were kind of sticks of bougainvillea that never really grew. And everything was off. Everything was off. But we realized because of our focus of creating beautiful spaces, our clinic was all non-toxic. We were one of the first non-toxic clinics in America, would you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely on the West Coast, and that was back in 1990. Where we built this whole clinic according to the principles of biobiology, which is the study of healthy buildings. So what's been so magical for us is that we've watched, you know, the bees coming back. And I know there's a big deal about bee populations disintegrating. So we've watched the bees come back, and the insects and the lizards, and the birds are singing again. And, you know, it's just been so amazing, and we're so happy. And yeah, I know you're busy, aren't you? So.
Yeah, I should get back to the packing. There's a lot of packing to do.
Yeah, okay.
So,
well, thanks for your support.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you see, this is the problem. I'm like the one that likes to be the homebody, and the loan is in my name. So I'm the one that's been the target. I'm the one that's been having to stand up in court, and, you know, and that's not my temperament. You know, I'm a holistic health practitioner. I'm a doctor of Oriental medicine, as is Julian, and I'd far rather be, you know, quietly doing my work. So the lemons are back. Well, not back. This is an old tree, and what's happening, they're growing perfect lemons again. They're like round, they're not distorted. Before they were all pithy, there was barely any juice. I really thought we were going to be here for the rest of my life. This is my spot on the planet. This is where my roots have grown. This is where I feel major healing has happened for me. Our families, people have come, our families live all over the world. People have come to visit us, to stay with us. Major rifts have healed here. Just all kinds of extraordinary, magical things have happened on this hill. And I am so grateful. So, you know, it took us, you know, many years to get this all sorted out. And then we were encouraged to take out a loan. I'll say encouraged, that's a euphemism, by a loan broker who was determined. He discovered we had a lot of equity in our home, and he just kept pursuing us. And he said, you know, if things change, you can just walk away. And I said, no, this is where I am for life. I am staying here. I'm not interested in walking away. And when the loan came and I questioned it, because I didn't understand it, and he said, don't worry about it, you've got the same great rate. I've got this all on email for 5 years, and you're going to be completely fine. And he insisted on us taking out this ridiculous 3-year prepayment penalty. There were many things in the loan documents that I didn't understand, and he just brushed it aside and assured me I would be fine. And so we went ahead, and we started at a certain amount. It was $3,500 was our loan, and then it went up to $37,000. I thought that was odd because he'd told us that it was fixed, that we had the same great rate. Then it went up to 42, and I started getting nervous. So I approached the bank, and I said, I'd like to get a loan modification because I'd heard that those were going on. This was 2008, early 2008. And they said, I'm sorry, we've got so many people trying to do it, you've got to miss payments. And I wasn't comfortable with that. I just figured that we could try and work it out with them, and that we'd heard that they were supposedly doing this. And they kept losing my documents, and they kept pretending that they'd never received anything. And we hired an attorney, and they, again, were sending in the documents, and they were getting very frustrated, and they'd keep getting lost. And then one day we got a letter in the mail saying that our loan was going from 4,200 to over 9,000 in 1 month. And that was so shocking. We had the attorney, and we realized we just couldn't do it anymore. So we didn't choose to stop payments, even though they told us to stop. We had to stop. And the attorney we were working with was just so overwhelmed and realized they weren't getting anywhere with all their clients, and they closed down. They referred us to somebody else who supposedly had had a lot of success, and they did. And they negotiated, and the bank, they took them a long time, and in the meantime the bank tried to put us into foreclosure, and the attorney managed to stop it, and they got us what's called a trial plan agreement. And we were told that we had to pay a certain amount to the bank. It was $6,300, and I told our attorney it was still too much. There was no way we could pay it, and our attorney said, just pay it, and you've got 3 months, and then they'll convert it to a loan modification. So we made our payments on time, as they said, and for 3 months, and then the attorney wrote a letter saying, okay, we're ready to convert, and they just told us to keep paying. And we kept paying, and we kept paying, and we kept paying. And every month I'd say to the attorney, okay, now what? And they said, don't worry, you'll get it, because they had been getting it with some other people. And one day we had a bunch of wild kittens that live on the property, or were born on the property, and we'd been taking them to the Humane Society to get spayed and neutered. And we came back one day, and there was a notice on our door that said, you've got 3 days, a 3-day notice, get out. And we were completely stunned. In fact, we thought it was a joke. So did our attorney. She thought it was a joke. And we were convinced it was completely illegal. And I still know it's illegal. We were not notified at all of the foreclosure proceedings. We were given what our attorney discovered. She called Chase. The bank is Chase, as you can see. We've got suing Chase for fraud here. And apparently what the loan modification person did was that they called me on the 6th of July, this was 2010, and the 8th of July, and that my phone was disconnected. And of course it wasn't disconnected. And that was the excuse that she used to push the button and send us into foreclosure. And our house was sold in foreclosure on the 14th of July. So there was no notice, there was nothing. And of course that was very shocking, and we're not moving anywhere. This is a complete mistake. This is our home. I don't believe this can happen.
What happened once you found the notice on your door? Your house had been sold, and who bought it, and what happened after that?
Well, we had just come back from taking our little wild mama cat to the vet. We came back with her. She was all groggy, and we were just, focusing on taking care of her. And we found this notice on our door saying we had 3 days to quit, to get out. And we went into complete shock. And we didn't believe it. I still actually don't believe it, because it's illegal, and that's what we're fighting. But basically what we discovered was that our home had been foreclosed. Our attorney was absolutely shocked because they didn't believe it. I still don't believe it's true, so we're still fighting it. And we ended up having to fight to stay in our home, because I knew, everything happens out of this home. I've got, all my files, my research, my storage, everything happens here. This is our center of operations, our internet work. So I knew we couldn't leave our home. And we actually managed, we went to the UD trial. That means the unlawful detainer, where they were trying to evict us. And this was a complete miracle because it hasn't really happened much since. I don't know. I think the judge had like an aberration where we were allowed to stay in our home while we went after the bank. And so not only do we have a broken chain of title, we were foreclosed on illegally. The bank should not have done that. They should have given us notice to fight to save our own home. And there were these people who bought our home, or think they bought our home, which we don't believe because we know that it was illegal. And there were two companies, and we've discovered this actually very recently when they came to inspect our home. We discovered that there are two companies with a bunch of investors behind each company, and all they care about is their money. And so when our home was sold illegally, somebody came to the door and they offered to sell us back our home for $250,000 more than they bought it. And they were shocked when we said, no, this is our home and it doesn't belong to you and you should not be trying to sell our home back to us. And this woman said, oh, it'll never stand up in court. And we sell, we buy and sell 10 homes a month. And that means one home every 3 days that they are throwing people out of their homes, trying to, evicting them, and then selling them to either other investors or people. So it's a factory, and this is a whole racket. I kind of feel I'm jumping all over the place because there are so many different threads to this story, and I know, a lot of other people, a lot of other homeowners who are losing their homes, you become very scattered and chaotic. So I'm not making excuses, I'm just letting you know that my normal logical thinking is a little flawed at the moment. But there was, after we lost one of our, Chase demurred, the bank denies that we have a case. Now we have an excellent case with all kinds of very strong, what's called causes of action. And we've got two attorneys who are both being extraordinary in terms of helping us. And they've done a lot of research. They've conferred with a lot of other attorneys in terms of what the law is or what the law should be. And what we discovered was that our home had not just been foreclosed on by Chase Bank, but they had sold it to some investors. Or they think they sold it to some investors who think they've acquired it. And what we also discovered when we researched was that these people have what we think are inside connections to the bank. One of them on his website, his name is Todd Kaufman. One of the companies on his website is altahelps.com, and he claims that he used to work on Wall Street. It's exactly, if you've seen The Inside Job, which I think you have, is that right? It explains the whole story. And that movie won an Oscar, I think. Is that right? It was also featured as one of the top movies in the Ventura Film Festival. So it's a very solidly researched movie. And in The Inside Job, it explains how the chain of title got broken, how the mortgages were sold on Wall Street. It just spells out all the different steps, all the greed of the different parties, all the denial, all the fraud, all the lack of follow-up. And so this particular person who fronts one of the companies that, in quotes, think they bought our home, he happens to, he used to work for Wall Street. This is what he says on his website. And if he takes his website down, I've got everything saved. He then says that he moved back to California and he set up his own real estate investment trust. And then he started a securitization company. And Washington Mutual, which was bought by Chase, Washington Mutual bought his company and set him up as the senior managing director. So he was the one that oversaw the securitization of all our mortgages, sold them to investors on Wall Street, And he was a huge part of this. I mean, Washington Mutual is one of the hugest banks in the country. Our loan was Washington Mutual. And our broker was, you know, I remember him telling me how WAMU basically kept coming to him to ask him for loans. And they couldn't get enough loans because the investors were so hungry to buy real estate. And the way they bought real estate was through these securities. And so this man did that from probably about 2001 to 2007. Our loan was 2006. And then he saw the writing on the wall, and he got out of that, or maybe Washington Mutual was bought by Chase. I don't know why he stopped, but probably because, you know, house prices had plummeted and they couldn't pull money out anymore. They couldn't harvest money, pull all the money out of our homes, especially in California, where we had the highest home rates in the country. And then what he's done is he's turned around, he's set himself up as a good guy where he's going to help people save their homes. So he's going to help them do short sales or help them in foreclosure. This is what his website says. But did he do that with us? No. He is throwing us out of our home. And we have fought. We have been here for a year. We've been paying what we consider as an extortion payment that the judge insisted we paid, which is $6,000 a month. They bought our home in foreclosure. I think they bought their home for $759,000, and the judge just arbitrarily said, okay, you know, you pay 10%. What these people were actually asking for was fair market value for rent, as if we were tenants, and fair market value according to the going rate around here, and a realtor who is a very experienced real estate, you know, agent and broker. She reckons that the going rate is $3,500. So we've been paying extortion payments. We've been having to, you know, earn our living with all the stress, the full-time job of fighting to save our home, full-time job of trying to earn the money to fight to save our home, plus preparing, if we get thrown out, to organize and wind down everything that we've been doing here. And also, where do we go? You know, that is non-toxic, that has, you know, all the work that we've put into creating our property and our home. So it's been very, very stressful.